AITA for threatening to sue my parents for taking out student loans in my name. I graduated college 4 years ago, and I rarely speak to my mother or father. Maybe 2 to 3 times a year, and even then it's only for a few minutes. They refuse to let me play sports in high school or have a social life, and they've basically cut me out of their lives since I and about 75 other people got a city drinking ticket 7 years ago in college. Since I live about 800 miles away, I only go back to my hometown once a year, either for Thanksgiving or Christmas. Most years I stay with a friend or at a hotel. Last year I stayed with my parents. No way in hell am I going back for either this year. Just about 5 months before I graduated college, my parents bought a boat. I know they got a good deal on it, and they have used it a lot. They took it out of the water for the season in early October. I've literally never seen it in person, just pictures from Facebook. Last week I had texted my father, first contact since March, and let him know I would be able to make it back for Christmas. About a minute later he called, and over the course of 5 minutes explained how he and my mother decided, since their last child was about through college, they would buy a boat. The only problem was they didn't have the $20,000 to buy it. What was their solution? Take out a student loan in my name, of course. My mailing address was always their house through college, so I was none the wiser. Why was my dad telling me about it now, for years after the fact? Because they can't pay it back. They actually never paid any of it back. They kept putting it in forbearance, but that ran out early this year. Fast forward 7 or 8 missed payments later, and my dad tells me the only reason he's telling me now is because he doesn't want me to bring it up at Christmas, and he knows it's going to default in a month or two. His exact words were, "If you're going to make a big deal about this, it's best if you don't come home this year." He also said it's about $25,000 is what I would need to pay it off. I hung up and just sat in shock for a couple of minutes. I called my brother yesterday and told him what was happening and that I think I'm going to sue them for whatever it takes to pay off the loan. I still don't know what that amount is yet. I should probably find out by next week. I'm cool with my brother and he's cool with my parents, and I'm sure he probably talked to them because this morning I get a text from my mom just saying, "Do not sue us." I texted her back saying she would need to immediately pay off the entire loan and show me proof. She texts back that I need to grow up. Obviously, I'm not even going to respond to that. The boat is probably worth half of what they paid for it by now, and with the hours they've put on it. I don't know if they have the money or not to pay up immediately if I sue them, but I figure I can at least garnish their wages. My other brother called and asked me to hold off a few months before doing anything, that it was shitty of them to do that, but to give them a chance to start paying it off. Update. This update has a happy ending of sorts. Basically what happened is that I did end up having to make a police report about what happened. My parents weren't arrested, but they were charged with deceptive practice. As part of a negotiated deal, they agreed to become responsible for the debt, and they received 12 months of court supervision. The student loan company removed the loans from my name, then made it clear they planned on suing my parents and myself. My parents for obvious reasons, and myself because I benefited from the crime, my degree. My parents and I spoke to a lawyer who agreed that they probably could come after me for at least some of the debt. Our lawyer and their in-house counsel came up with a deal that basically said if I paid half myself, they'd forever give up their right to sue me or try to collect the other half from me. I wasn't crazy about the deal, but it's cheaper than going to court, where I'd likely be found to be jointly liable with my parents for the full $25,000 in attorney fees. I paid my part of it 3 months ago, and it's like I've never had student loans. Nothing on my record at all regarding it. My parents sold the boat for a loss and are making payments on the remainder of the balance. They've apologized to me pretty profusely about it, and I do think they are remorseful. As a cherry on top, my brother told me they opened a credit card in his name around the same time they took out the student loans. He only found out after going to purchase a house, and the loan officer asked him about it. That was paid off in full before he found out about it, though. I speak to my parents maybe once a month now, more than in the past, and our relationship is still fairly cool, but not nearly as bad as what it was. Also, I definitely did not go to Christmas last year. I think I'll be going this year, though. Edit regarding why I may have been found jointly liable. My parents paid 50% of my rent my senior year of college. I also, unhappily while interviewing, lived with them for half a year after school. They asked for half and wiped it off of my credit forever. It's more than 50% of rent, but I was done with it. I have a decently paying job now and wanted to move on. I did a crappy job of wording it, but they sold the boat for $9,000 paid to the lender. I paid $8,000, a little more than what half of my rent was, and they're making payments on their $8,000. Apologies for not being more clear. Edit 2, alright, maybe I should have gotten a differently lawyer. I just wanted it to go away with no lawsuit. Looking like that was short-sighted. Overall, I'm okay with it. I never paid my parents back for the 50% rent in college. They were just going to let it be. I feel like I've made up for that now. Really good advice in this comment if you're worried about it happening to you. Just don't get a shitty lawyer.